the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic trick. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Dally M medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. It has been a few weeks if you guys have kept up with the podcast. At the end of the podcast, I've been given a reason why, and if you followed me over on the Instagram, you know why we took a little bit of a break. But happy to be back now. Unfortunately, I was, looking forward to get back into this in full swing. I am not in the best shape today. I'm powering through this to just get a podcast up there and try and get something out to you guys. But you can probably hear in my voice, I'm far from ideal at the moment, far from 100%. So we're going to try and make this a short one. You guys, we've said that a few times and it never really ends up happening. But we're going to jump straight into everything that was for round 16 of the NRL Telstra Premiership season. So the first game of round 16, of course, was the Raiders and the Tigers. The Raiders getting this one done at 16-12. Look, I think the biggest talking points out of this one for me, though, is the Tigers. Like, Raiders, we'll get them out of the way. We'll start with what we've been saying essentially all season. The good teams find a way to win even when they're far from their best. I thought the Raiders did that. They ground out a win. It was a very, very spirited performance. But at this point of the season, that's what I expect from the Raiders. So I'm not taking too much away from this game from them. I'm looking at it. I'm not saying it was a bad performance. I thought they were very brave. I thought they defended their hearts out. Their attack was far from ideal. But as we said, you just find out a way to win when you're not even at your best. That's what the good teams do, and that's what the Raiders do. And they've proved that all season. So this is just another one of those examples for them. As for the Tigers, though, I thought they were really good, and I thought this game was one of the clearer examples of adapting a game plan at halftime. That first half, they weren't blown off the park, but it was 16-0 at halftime. They couldn't get their attack in shape, and they, the Raiders are a good attacking outfit. It won't take too much away from the Tigers defensively in that first half. But the fact that in this second half, they came out of the gates and scored in the 48th and 53rd minute, that was all that was scored in the second half. Raiders didn't score a point. Tigers were kept to 12. But I just thought it was a really good example of just when you're straying away from a game plan or when your game plan is not working, get into the sheds, take a break, have a breather, and adapt. And I thought the Tigers did that. I think it all lined up with sort of when Latu Fainu came onto the field. Now, granted, he did come onto the field a little bit before halftime when, they were still down and whatnot. But I thought when he was injected into this contest, he was absolutely unreal. He genuinely changed the game. I didn't put him in my team of the week simply because this game just escaped my mind, to be honest. He definitely would have made my bench player of the week in my team of the week, so I'll put my hand up and say that I missed that one. But yeah, I thought, no knock to Heath Mason. I thought he was solid while he was out there. And the week previous when the Tigers played, I thought Heath Mason was one of their best players. But yeah, when Larchie came on, he genuinely completely changed the game. As I said, it probably lines up with the fact that the Tigers went into that second half and switch things up. They started spreading early in attack to try and nullify the Raiders forward pack and their power game through the middle. I just thought, both of those things, the injection of Latu Fainu and the changed game plan, it shows great coaching from Benji Marshall to be able to, get his players to do that, but also a really talented roster to be able to adapt on the fly and change so much like that. I thought they were unlucky to not get the win. That second half, they were fantastic, but I'm not going to say that the better team lost here. The Raiders, I think a lot of people sort of just look at that second half and say, wow, the Tigers were great. And they take away from what the Raiders were able to do in that first half. And the Raiders genuinely, they just kept turning up defensively. So I think the Raiders probably still deserve this win, but I'm seeing a lot out of the Tigers, even though it's a 12-16 scoreline from that second half and the injection of Latu Fainu. I'm really excited about this team and I'm really enjoying watching them play their footy, to be honest. So yeah, I take a lot away from this if I'm Tigers fans. As I said about the Raiders, it's just another win on the board for you guys. You know that you can win ugly now and get away with it. I mean, you've known that for a few weeks now, but this is just another example of that. So they chalk up another win with the Warriors losing this round, which we'll get to. It means that they're now they're fully clear of third place now with the Storm and Warriors on equal footing. So Raiders are just they're primed for a bloody big season. In terms of standout players, we'll start with the Raiders while we're talking about them right now. Mentioning all that gritty defense, I thought Joseph Tarpany was absolutely massive. I still don't really agree with him playing limited minutes. I think he only chalked up 47 minutes in this game. But in that time, he came up with the Raiders' first try. He made... there was that one-on-one. It was a bloody great one-on-one try saver on. I think it was Jerome Luai stepped in and went over the line. It was just a brilliant effort from Joseph Tarpany to hold him up. And there were countless other tackles that he made, just crucial tackles, try-saving tackles, just to inspire his team to the win. I thought he was absolutely excellent, Joseph Tarpany. Josh Papali'i in a very similar boat. He assisted that Tarpany first try with some soft hands from the big man. And when he came back on in that second half, especially, and keep in mind, this is when the Tigers were on that roll. They had the momentum. I thought it all really halted when Josh Papali'i came onto the field. He made a huge tackle on Jarrell Skelton with about 5 minutes to go in the game to force him back in goal, which was just that sort of final nail in the coffin. Like, it was that momentum swing that really just changed the game at the end there. 5 minutes to go. Tigers survived an onslaught from the Raiders, and they're bringing it out of their own line. And Papali'i makes a huge hit on Skelton and drives him back in goal. And that took the final bit of wind out of the Tigers' sails, in my opinion. So I thought Josh Papali'i, he was incredible as well. Just the stats of those guys as well. So 51 minutes from Papali'i and 48 from Tarpany. 15 runs, 124 metres for Papali'i, 12 runs, 116 metres, Tarpany, and 35 tackles for Tarpany, 0 missed, 38 for Papali'i, 3 missed. So, I thought those two, they really just led by example from the front, and I thought they were incredible. I thought it was really great, seeing Jed Stewart, of course, the son of Ricky Stewart. He made his debut in this game, and to score on debut is just one of those things that you dream of all the way coming up through as a kid, and, to have that actually occur in front of your father and whatnot, it's just his family on the sidelines as well. I thought that was a really good moment for young Jed Stewart. Beyond that, again, I'm not going to try and touch on every player this week. We'll touch on a lot less simply because I'm trying to power through this a bit quicker. Over to the Tigers. We've mentioned a lot about Latu Fainu already, but in saying that, I still don't think we have talked about him enough. The way he just straightened up their attack, he dug into line. It looked like Kieran Foran levels of digging into line and playing out the back. Kieran Foran, in my opinion, is the best in the game at it. He was absolutely incredible, Latu Fainu. And, of course, it's been recorded on the Tuesday. It's team lists have already dropped by the time this one has come out. I believe he will get named in that 5/8 jersey. I'm hearing Dream Buller is now out with an injury. So you'd assume Heath Mason returns to fullback and Latu Fainu gets into 5/8. I'm really excited to sort of see how that goes for the Tigers in this one, because, he was... If you didn't catch this game, and you can look at stats and whatnot, and the stats aren't going to be incredible, but genuinely just need to go back and watch that game. 13 runs, 107 metres, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 3 tackle breaks, 16 tackles, 0 missed. He was so good, Latu Fainu. Beyond that, for the Tigers, I thought it was probably Jerome Luai's best game for the Tigers so far this season. He had that deft little kick in for the opening try to Alex Seyfarth, and then he also had the just beautiful short ball to Adam Dewey that created a break on the left-hand side. And did that lead? Yeah, that one led to something, didn't it? Oh, that's right. So, Dewey, he has that ball to Dewey. Dewey makes that huge break. Dewey gets tackled, and the best part about, Jerome Luai in that moment is straight away, he's in the next play. He has got up there in support, and he's directing traffic, directing his players around on the right-hand side. So once that break's made and the Raiders are retreating defence, they swing it out to Luai. He plays a really good ball to Alex Seyfarth, who in turn does a little bit of a wrap play out the back to, I think it was Latu Fainu again there. And then they went on to score through, I can't even remember, whoever their second try scorer obviously was. So Stafford Toa ended up scoring that try. I should have known it was Stafford. He's scoring all of the Tigers' tries this season. But I thought that was it just showed how good of a player Jerome Luai is. The fact that he's not just resting on his laurels there. He put him through, and then he wraps up and he plays a big hand in the very next play that leads him to a try. So big hands in both of the Tigers' tries there was Jerome Luai. I thought he was incredible. Seyfarth's an interesting one. So if you look at these stats, I thought defensively he was not the best. He let through a really, really poor try. I think it was the Joseph Tarpany try where he shot out and it was just terrible. And when you look at stats, you sit here and go, he played 59 minutes and he had 2 runs for 14 metres, which is just diabolical. But somehow in those 2 runs, he scored one of the tries for the Tigers, and he was literally the man that played that wrap ball in that second try that ended up leading to Stafford Toa. So he played a big hand in both those tries. Hearing he will not be named, he'll be named, but he won't start this week. I'm hearing that there's rumours Jack Bird will start. Whether that plays out or not, it's all you guys will know by the time this comes out. But yeah, I think that'll be an interesting play of what the Tigers sort of do there. But yeah, just a sort of rocks or diamonds performance by Alex Seyfarth. He definitely need to be making more meters than what he was doing in that one. Beyond that, Adam Dewey, I thought he was really, really good. Obviously we already talked about that line break that he made on that left-hand side, which led to the Tigers' second try. But he had another break getting out of his own in goal, like pretty late in the match, which was just huge. It just started another attacking raid for them. And he came up with a few really good plays in defence, really good reads and shooting out and making those tackles. So I thought Adam Dewey was really good. Again, on the rumour front, hearing that Taylor May is not far off. I think he's going to get named in maybe on their extended bench and then probably play reserve grade this week. Probably eventually will come into the centres for this side. But yeah, on a performance like that from Adam Dewey, I can't really see why he should be dropped because I thought he was really good. Beyond that, I also thought Samuel Afinu was really, really good. He was massive out there. 11 runs, 113 metres from him and 39 tackles. Did miss 5, but again, just the eye test, I thought he was really, really good out there. Standard performance, Terrell May, 22 runs, 178 metres. Fanua Pole on return was good with 15 runs, 133. So there was a lot of good performance. As I said, I'm not going to go through all of them. Dream Bullard, the other man I want to mention, we've mentioned him essentially every week for the last couple of weeks, obviously missing the last couple, but before that, he does absolutely everything you want from a fullback, where he's always there in support. He is always in frame when there's a break, whether it's making that tackle because he's in position or covering across the field with his speed. His sweeping play is really good. His ball playing is really improving. I think he's turning into one of the better overall fullbacks in the competition at the moment, and he's not getting any of the plaudits because he's in a Tigers team that's not doing amazing. Obviously, these 4 weeks he's about to be, well, I'm sure it's been announced. I know it's been announced that he's out injured. That sucks because it's 4 weeks that we can't just see him keep improving. But in the next year, I think he'll really be in that conversation with the top fullbacks of our game. I thought he's been terrific all season during Buller, so I want to give him his plaudits. But that one, yeah, we'll wrap up that game there. We'll move on to the second game of the round, that being the Warriors and the Panthers. The Panthers coming away surprise upset victors 28-18 in this one. Look, there's a lot being said about the Warriors, how they should be losing to a Panthers essentially reserve grade side. And, fair enough. Like, should the Warriors have won this game? Absolutely, in my opinion. They're a top 4 side at the moment. It's in New Zealand. They had they had almost a full strength squad. There's not many excuses from that sense. But when you actually watch the game and you know what happens, as an excuse, no, but I can see that it's reasonings, in my opinion. In this game, they lost Maratini Akore very early. He was ruled out of the game after an injury. Then Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, he did an ankle, and, they scored. One of the Scott Sorensen tries was scored while Watene-Zelezniak was injured, and he was hobbling literally on one leg, and then they just went through that space. The Panthers attacked that and identified that really well. And then Luke Metcalf also, he stayed out there because the Warriors fucking needed him to, but he essentially played this game on one leg as well after, I think it was near halftime or maybe just after halftime, but he injured that leg. So he was out there, just hobbling the entire second half essentially. So is it an excuse? No, like they should still be winning this game, but I don't think people are really giving enough credit for how much those injuries can take place, because it's stuffing up your game plan, because now you've been training in all these positions, you've been training with all these players, you now have to shuffle them, and whether it's you go, oh well, Maratini Akore comes off, you just put on someone and he can do the job, sure. But when Dallin Watene-Zelezniak goes off and then you're having to move one of your centres to the opposite side of the field, Pompey onto the wing that is, and then Like, there's so many different structures that are affected in your attacking game and defensive game that when you have these injuries, that's all thrown out the window and you just have to improvise from then on. It also stuffs up, your interchanges, your game plan with your substitutions, that's all thrown out the window, your rotations, because you're having to make two forced changes, I should say, because of the injuries. So, like, I can see why. And the other thing that I think people aren't giving credit for is the Panthers themselves. They were incredible. They were so desperate. They played this game as if their life depended on it. Yes, you can say that's a reserve grade side, but all of these players in this Panthers side have played first grade, and a lot of them have played a numerous amount of games of first grade. Like, it's not like you're debuting 4 or 5 players that they have done in the past. There's a lot of great players in this Panthers side. Does it compare to the Warriors, starting lineup in this one? Absolutely not. But they are playing for their season, and, we know the strength of this Panthers team. It's always been that next man up mentality, and I thought this game really just showed that, to be honest. I thought they were incredible. Their defense as well, like the Warriors had a lot of attacking opportunities that were just completely snuffed out. What's his name? Tom Jenkins, for instance, I thought he was absolutely unbelievable. He had 2 try-saving intercepts in this game where Warriors are attacking that right-hand side. If that pass sticks, they score 2 tries. And then, you're looking at the context of this game, like, if those 2 passes stick, the Warriors probably come away winners in this game, but they don't, because Tom Jenkins makes those 2 match-saving intercepts. He also scored a try himself. He also saved a try on Chanel Harris-Tavita, again, when the Warriors attacked down that right-hand side, and Chanel essentially crossed the line. Tom Jenkins saved that try. So he summed up how gritty the Panthers were, how desperate they were. I thought Tom Jenkins was unbelievable in this one. And as I said, just summed up how the Panthers played in general. So, you can be a bit disappointed in the Warriors. I know I am as a fan, but I think you also need to show your respects to what the Panthers played. Like, they played really, really good in this game. They played desperate, and now their season is very much still alive. They now find themselves inside the top 8, which, for a while there, we thought was going to be impossible for this side. And now it's sort of looking like, if this Panthers team scraps their way into finals, they're a team you never want to come up against. So the 4-time premiers. So, I thought, be disappointed in the Warriors. As I said, I expect them to play better. But at the same time, you just need to show your respects to the Panthers, to be honest. In terms of standout players, I thought Charles Nickel-Klugstad, again, for the Warriors was incredible. I think his positional play is it's so, so good, and no one gives it credit. Obviously, I've talked a lot about Chance in essentially all this season, and even last season. He shut down numerous attacking raids by making the tackle on one side of the field, and then when the Panthers would spread it to the other, he would get on his bike, sprint over the other side of the field, and just make a tackle or make a play there. Like, there is one where he makes a tackle on that left-hand side, then they spread it back to the right, and they put a kick in, and he's there to clean up the kick and get out of the in goal. He did it time and time again in this one. He got out of his in goal for about 3 Panthers players on him. He made the try saver on Isaiah Papali'i. And of course, you look at the stats at the end of the game, and he ran the ball 23 times for 215 meters, had 7 tackle breaks, and it was just everywhere on the field. I thought Chance was just genuinely incredible. On the flip side of the thing, Dane Laurie essentially had a mirror performance of Chance. He was also doing the same things, like making a try saver on one side, and then he's sprinting back across. And I remember Luke Metcalf cut off his left, put a little grubber in for himself. And Dane Laurie, after saving a try on the other side, he sprinted across and he's covered the same sort of thing because he made that try saver on Laban, where Laban was running a hard line. I don't know how you stopped that try, but he did. And then he's, there to clean up the Luke Metcalf grubber kick. Again, Dane Laurie, 16 runs, 178 metres from him too. So I thought Dane Laurie was fantastic. Who else for the Warriors? Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I thought he was really, really good. Kept making his meters as he always does. Ended the game with 172. But there's a moment about 15 minutes into the second half where he just shoots up to save to stop a right-hand side raid. And then, he stops the play in the sense that the actual game plan, that play in particular is stopped, but he doesn't stop the player. The players start cutting inside and they go into improv mode, but he doesn't just rest on his laurels there. He stops that raid and then he sprints back after making them cut inside to make that tackle on Paul Alamotti, I believe it was, who, as I said, sort of cut back infield. So I thought he was just really, really good. I thought Jacob Laban had the best game of his young career for the Warriors. His line running is genuinely already up there with some of the best in the competition. That run that we just mentioned where it was saved by Dane Laurie, incredible. He had that other run where he was actually put over for a try by Luke Metcalf. I thought he was unreal there. And when we mentioned those Tom Jenkins intercepts, one of those intercepts, Jenkins starts essentially going to run the length of the field, and the man who tracks back to run him down is Jacob Laban. So I thought he was incredible. Best game of his young career as well. There's another one as well where I think it sort of sums up the Warriors this year. Obviously, this game got away from them, but what I loved about certain points of this game is just seeing how desperate they were. There's a moment where Brad Schneider makes a break out of dummy half because we have markers offside and he just scoots out of dummy half and he makes a good break. And normally in years past, you'd just see no one there for the Warriors. You'd see the fullback and then the Panthers would have the person assisting, they'd draw and pass and the person assisting would go through. In this instance, when Laurie made that break and when Schneider made the break and Dane Laurie is supporting him up the middle, you see about 7 or 8 Warriors chasing back and they're all in frame. Again, one of those is Jacob Laban, obviously. Chans is there. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Chanel Harris-Tavita, Luke Metcalf. I can't remember everyone. Darren Martinez-Lesniak was there. But like in years gone past, you would see no one there. You see the fullback, and as I said, there's a draw and pass, and they go on to score. But the Warriors of this year, of 2025, they have 7 or 8 players tracking back to stop that play. And that's the sort of efforts I want to see. As I said, the game got away from them. Yeah, they can live with that. They just need to come back stronger. And moments like that let me know that this team has that ability to do that. So, yeah, I just thought they're a special team this year, regardless of the loss. Over to the Panthers. The big standout for me for the Panthers, we've obviously already mentioned Dane Laurie, but Moses Leota. We finally got the Bash brothers, James Fisher-Harris and Moses Leota, going up against each other, and I thought Leota got the better of him. Obviously, the Panthers got the better of the Warriors in general, but I think a lot of it comes off the back of Leota. From the moment those two clashed, it was just a big hit from Leota. You know, James Fisher-Harris didn't play poor at all, but Leota, he was so immense in this one. In only 42 minutes on the field, he had 17 runs for 174 meters, 29 tackles, and a lot of those tackles, as I said, were huge hits, just swinging momentum. He was massive. Stats don't even tell the story. Like, those are some good stats, and they don't even tell the full story of how good Moses Leota was in this one. He really inspired his team to victory when most people, including myself, thought there were no chance of winning this one over in New Zealand. So, yeah, Moses Leota, thought he was absolutely incredible. Beyond that, Scott Sorensen, he's the man that you sort of have to mention. 2 tries from the back rower, 16 runs, 161 meters, 1 line break, 3 tackle breaks, and 35 tackles. Apparently he's suspended now, so meant to miss the next few weeks. But yeah, it's a big loss for them because he was so good in this one. I mean, we know he has these games in him. There's like 1 or 2 every year or so that he comes out with these, but his line running, his defense, his speed for, you know, a second rower, and he's getting a bit on in years. Yeah, Scott Sorensen was incredible. Brad Schneider, I thought, had a much improved game. At the beginning of the season, we were very much in the boat that Trent Tolau had to be like the halfback moving forward when Nathan Cleary's out, but Brad Schneider came back in and he's proved that he's still that man. 11 runs, 117 meters, 1 line break assist, 3 try assists, and 22 tackles, 2 missed. I thought he was so good. And his halves partner as well, Blaise Talangi, one of the better games of his young career so far, and probably his best at the Panthers, in my opinion. So he finished the game with 11 runs, 102 meters, 1 line break assist, 1 try, and 1 try assist. Really good stuff from Blaise Talangi and the Panthers in general. As I said, there's obviously a lot of players that I could mention more, but we're a little bit low on time in this one, trying to get through it as quick as possible. Shout out to the bench as well. I thought Liam Henry and Liron Patea, I thought they were immense when Leota and Lindsay Smith sort of came off the field. You didn't really notice a drop off because of the impact these guys had. 17 runs, 157 metres for Henry. And 7 runs, 80 metres from Patea. Thought they were really, really good. But yeah, incredible win from the Panthers. The fact that this has now put them back in the top 8 and to be able to do it against the Warriors who are flying high over in New Zealand is just, it's one of those wins that you never expect to get. But when you can scrape one of these up and just put them on the thing, they might look back at this season and look back at this day and be like, that was the one. That's the one that set us in motion when we had no right to win and we found a way, and that's our Penrith Panthers spirit. That's the culture that we have in this club. So it was a fantastic win from the Penny Panthers. Over to the next game. The Knights defeated the Dolphins 26-20. So it's another one that I got wrong on the tipping front. I didn't really give the Knights much of a chance. I haven't really for a while. They've just been so disappointing. But in this game, I thought they were just really, really good. Dolphins, they have their fair share of injuries, especially in that forward pack. But so do the Knights. If we look at these... so like the Dolphins, they're missing Flegler, who they've missed all season, so you can't really count that, but we will. Flegler, who they're missing all season, Daniel Saifiti, who they're missing. There's another front row. Tom Gilbert is gone, and Max Plath. Those are like the biggest and best players in their forward pack. They're all out. And yet when you compare their front rowers here, Mark Nichols and Francis Molo, to the names of the Knights, with all due respect, Matt Croker and Tyson Frizzell, fair enough. You'd have to say that the Dolphins' front rowers are probably better. And that's even with all their outs, you can't really fully use it. You can use it as an excuse, sure. Far out, I'm not going well. But the Knights, in the same breath, had essentially a very similar forward pack and a lot of outs themselves. So them to come up against a Dolphins side that is absolutely flying high, scored 150 points in the last 3 weeks or something, I really gave them no chance, and they came through very much. So I thought they were really, really good in this one. Bradman Best, I thought he was probably the player of the match for me for the Knights. He was at his best on return, pun obviously intended. 20 runs, 193 metres, 2 line break assists, 1 try assist, 5 tackle breaks, and a try himself. He was just absolutely incredible for them. Jaden Brayley played the full game at hooker with Phoenix Crossland filling in at that lock role. And I thought Jaden Brayley was... we've been saying it since the start of the season. Jaden Brayley is still the best hooker at that club, and he should have been there in playing hooker from the start. He was really good in this one. 6 runs, 54 metres, 51 tackles, 2 missed. He always found a way. As soon as there was any space in behind the ruck, whenever there was a retreating marker, he would nab that and just gain those metres, and they'd play off the back of it. He was really, really good, Jaden Brayley. And, of course, I thought Kalen Ponga was really good in this one as well. 20 runs from KP, 179 metres, 2 try assists. And Dom Young on return, also scoring a try on return to the Knights. 19 runs, 173 metres in that one. But, yeah, Dylan Lucas, solid as always. There's players that you can keep going on about. James Schiller, I thought, was really good. But for me, it's just a really good team performance for the Knights. Again, one of those wins that no one really expected them to be able to do. I know there's a few people out there, but I, for one, didn't expect them to be able to do this with the way they have been playing their footy against a team like the Dolphins and the way they've been playing their footy. It was just night and day sort of stuff. So I never really gave them a hope in hell, but that's the beauty of this season, that anything can happen. And the Knights, they showed up and they were absolutely terrific in this one and well and truly deserving of the 2 points. So, yeah, I love it for the Knights. Obviously, I've been pretty harsh on them this season, but that's sort of the reality that they've left me with. I can only be harsh on what I've been seeing from them, but they're a team I always want to be doing well, being, around the Newcastle area these days where I live. I want to see them doing well, and yeah, I love that they won this one. As for the Dolphins, yeah, just definitely disappointing performance. It's one that they probably shouldn't be losing with how good they've been, but they've also been playing well above their weight. When you consider the roster that they've had this season. Well, in the past 3 weeks, especially with all the injuries and all the outs that they've had, to be scoring all those points and getting those wins that they have been, like, it had to come to a halt. There's only so long that this team could be up for that with all the injuries, and all it had to take a toll on them, and it finally did. And they weren't terrible. Like, they still scored 20 points. They still had their moments of looking really, really good. But yeah, it was far from their best. I'm not going to be too harsh on them, though. Like, this is just one of those ones that it got away from them. The Knights wanted it a little bit more in this one. They'll revamp and they'll go on from here. While we're on them, we'll talk about their standout players. The Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow backing up from Origin, 19 runs, 237 metres, 1 line break, 1 try. Herbie Farnworth again, 22 runs, 204 metres, 4 line break assists, 5 tackle breaks, was immense. Cody Nikorima, I thought, was really, really good out there, 110 metres from him and a try. And again, their forward pack, as I mentioned, sort of stood up. They were, in my opinion, better than the Knights, but the Knights found a way to get a lot out of their outside backs and swing it a bit and get the results there. But Francis Molo, 143 metres, Mark Nichols, 126 were really good. I thought Connolly Lemuelu was really great when he came on. Keeley and Finifuiaki were good. But the man I want to give the most mention to is Kurt Donahue, because genuinely, his value is going up every single game he plays. He was a 5'8" coming through the grades, that he was sort of used as a backup dummy half last season. Then he trained as a fullback all of this year to, be the next man up for Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. And then he finds himself starting at lock in this game, and you think, fuck, that's already a journey. No, there's an injury to Jack Bostock, who unfortunately did his ACL in this one and is out for the season, and just absolutely killer stuff for Jack Bostock. Thoughts and wishes are with him, because that's just killer coming off the high of last week, and just, you never want to see it happen to any player. But yeah, there's the injury to Jack Bostock, and you're looking around at this team like, oh, okay, Connolly Lemuelu's played some time in the centres, maybe you move him out there, move Avarillo to wing, whatnot. No, they're like, righto, Kurt Donahue, you've been playing lock, go into centre. And the Knights kept going at him. And honestly, more often than not, he came up trumps. I thought he was so, so good. It wasn't just he's out there to just, fill in numbers. He genuinely had an impact on this game, Kurt Donahue, whether it was at lock, whether it was at centre, and obviously all the other positions throughout the last couple of years that he's been playing. His value is going up every single week, Kurt Donahue. I thought he was so, so good. So yeah, just a shout out to Kurt Donahue there as well. Not too much more to sort of touch on for this game, so I'm going to be moving on to the next one. Just a really good win for the Knights in that one. Rabbitohs and Storm is the game that was up next, and another one that it was looking like I'd get another tip wrong here, because I thought the Rabbitohs were the better team in this one. And when you look at the stats, they technically were. They scored more tries. They just didn't convert their goals. And in the end, the Storm, when it came down to the clutch and it came down to golden point, the Storm get away with a Ryan Pappenhausen field goal to win this game 25-24. And we sort of mentioned it with the Raiders earlier, but this is what the good teams do. Am I starting to get a little bit worried in the Storm? I think I finally am. Some people have had concerns earlier than me, but for me, I've always been like, when this team wants to turn it on, there's no stopping them, and they're the team that has the most finals experience. Like, as soon as they come into finals, they will turn it on every week and they will be unbeatable. But games like this, I'm starting to be like, okay, there are flaws. Well, we've seen the flaws for sure, but like, I don't think they weren't like they were off their game. Like, for a lot of it, they stood up. If you look at their tries, they're scoring in the 3rd minute through Harry Grant, 5th minute through Jerome Hughes. Like, their stars stood up. But the weirdest part about it is I feel like that fast start was genuinely the worst thing that could have happened to them, because from then on, they just thought it was just going to be clear runnings, and they just started to trying to attack from absolutely everywhere on the field, and they were making mistake after mistake after mistake. Bloody Craig Bellamy was losing his mind in the sheds, and I don't blame him at all. They really just needed to settle into their game plan and just let the points come naturally, but they were not respecting the football enough, and they weren't respecting the Rabbitohs enough. And it's the fact that if this happened, if they started the game poor, if this was how it was the entire time. They just thought this would be another easy win. I almost am worried less. Like they came in, egos got checked because they took a team too lightly. But the fact that they came in, they started so good. They started at their game plan. They started fast. And then they thought, fuck, we're obviously just the best in the world. Let's just have a bit of fun. That's where I'm getting a bit worried about the Storm because, yeah, I thought that fast start was the worst thing that happened to them. They didn't respect the footy from then on out, and it almost came back to cost them. Honestly, it should have cost them. I thought they got away with one here, the Storm. The Rabbitohs, for me, were the better team in this game, and, yeah, it really sucks that they didn't get the victory, but I guess, we said it with the Raiders, the Storm, even when they're not at the best, they find a way to win. This win keeps them ahead of the Warriors now, so they're into third on the ladder. But yeah, starting to get a little bit worried about the Storm, even though they won this game. Let's talk a little bit about the Rabbitohs. Yeah, I thought they were really, really good. They led in these first 2 tries, and normally that would be shit. Like we're in for a fucking tough one here. But they weren't worried. They just gathered themselves and they kept going. It helped that the Storm just kept inviting them into the game with just silly, silly errors, just a lot of ill discipline. But the Rabbitohs were really good to just actually ice that. Alex Johnston, 4 tries in this one. He scored the 3 tries against the Warriors a few weeks ago, and we made our post about him. That took him to over 200. And then he goes and scores 4 tries in this one. We had a little bit of a running joke in the Gibberish chat about he's just a catch and form merchant, but we said it on that podcast, and we've said it a few times. There is a genuine skill in being in the right place 100% of the time. If there is we said about Josh Adokar a few weeks ago, we're like, if there is the slightest try scoring chance, Josh Adokar will ice it 9 out of 10 times. He's that good of a finisher. Alex Johnston, if there is the slightest try scoring chance, he will ice it 10 out of 10 times. He never gets it wrong. He's the greatest finisher this game has ever seen. And, sure, the first 3 tries, it's him being in position. But keep in mind, there is a skill in being in that position. But alas, I'll humour you. First 3 tries is just him being a winger and being in position and falling over for the tries. Sure. 4th try, he takes the intercept and scores again. Same as what he did against the Warriors. He takes that intercept and scores again. A lot of people think that wingers have to do everything for their tries, that they have to be doing like 90% of their tries have to come from their own hand. No, a winger's job's to score off the back of a good play. That's why back in the day, there was all the memes about the wingers did nothing and, scored the tries and took all the glory. That's obviously changed a bit, and that's evolved today in today's game where wingers do a lot of work and they do all this other stuff and they're incredible players, wingers. But Alex Johnston, he scores these tries like the old school wingers, but he makes his own more than a lot of wingers out there as well. I think if you looked back at Alex Johnston's career and you just watched every single try he scored, I'd hedge my bets 30% of them, which, it sounds a little bit low. Let's say 40% of them are from his own hand, like taking intercepts or just breaking 100 tackles, and just he's so good at it, Alex Johnston. Of course, how he scored these tries, a lot of these tries was on the back of Latrell Mitchell, who I thought was just, yeah, he was incredible. He has some of the best hands in the game. His passing game it's almost second to none. The way he can just fire a ball from anywhere on the field, exactly whatever ball you need, he can do it. And yeah, he was just absolutely incredible in this one as well. Latrell Mitchell, I'll pull up his stats for the game. So 15 runs, 134 meters, 3 line break assists, 4 try assists, 4 tackle breaks, just mental stuff. And one of those was also a kick out in behind them to Tyrone Munro. So it wasn't just his hands in this one, but yeah, I thought he was absolutely incredible, was Latrell Mitchell. Beyond that, for the Rabbitohs, I thought Ewan Aitken was really, really good out there. Lachlan Hubner did his job. The one I was really impressed with that wasn't Keon, we'll talk about Keon while we're here. 26 runs, played 80 minutes at front row, by the way. 26 runs, 235 meters, 35 tackles. Absolutely just, it's bonkers stats. And the fact that we can have players like him, Haas, May, Adam Fiddle-Blake when he wants to, they're doing this week in, week out these days. It's just, It blows my mind. But the man I was really, really impressed with for the Rabbitohs in this one was Tavita Totola. Off the bench, 19 runs, 191 metres. I thought he really swung momentum in this one. He was hard to handle every time he had the footy, and he always found his front and got a quick play of the ball. So Tavita Totola, I thought his impact off the bench was incredible. For the Storm, did we really touch on any standout players? No, we didn't. We'll touch on some of them now. Grant Anderson, he's just been doing everything week in, week out. 24 runs, 208 metres, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 1 try again. 1 try assist and 1 try. Just mental stuff from Grant Anderson. The fact he's just not a regular first grader blows me away. I don't see a world where you can actually drop him from this side now. He's so good. Harry Grant obviously scored probably the easiest try you'll ever see from dummy half to start. 9 runs, 74 metres, 50 tackles from him as well. And Eli Katoa just doing his work, 16 runs, 170 metres. Nelson Asofa Solomona, this was a funny one. Meters, you look at it, good. 111 runs for 150 meters, but fuck me, his errors were really bad. He actually got hooked in this one in that sort of second half. Was it second half? It might have even been Golden Point, where just he made too many errors in a row, and just Bellamy's like, get him off the field. I'm not dealing with it. There's obviously a lot more standout players I could talk about. I'm not going to. I want to make this quicker. I've talked about every Storm player immensely, essentially, all this season. Did they win the game? Yes. Are they happy to have won the game? And, now they sit clear of the Warriors. We're not clear of the Warriors, but they're ahead of them on the ladder. 100%. But they need to learn this from this one. I think this is a lesson that a lot of times this season, this might be their biggest lesson that they've had faced to them, to be honest. If they don't come away with a new mentality and a new attitude from this game, then there's almost no point in even winning it. I almost think losing it would have been a better thing for them. But it's Craig Bellamy. It is the Melbourne Storm. I'm sure getting the win is better because they will still be able to, I'm sure he'll hammer it home into them. This isn't good enough, and this is why we need to change our mentality. For the Rabbitohs, I feel really sorry for the Rabbitohs. I thought they were the better team. They weren't robbed of anything, in my opinion. I think Storm just managed a way to win the game. Feel sorry for the Rabbitohs, and Rabbitohs fans, you should be very, very proud of your side. Let's go to the next game, the Broncos and the Sharkies. Another tip I get wrong. The Sharkies going down to the Broncos 28-34. Blew me away. The Sharks were up 18. They're up by 18 points, I think. No, maybe it was 12. Regardless, they were always ahead by 2 or 3 converted tries at 2 different points in the match. And then the second half came around and the Broncos go, righto, 53rd minute, 57th minute, 67th minute, 71st minute, score all these tries and just win the game. And it's like, what's going on at the Sharkies? Because for the first half, I thought, fuck, this is that team. This is what we expected of them all season. We expected this sort of footy, and we expect them to be a premiership threat, and they looked like that. And then the second half rolls around, and, the Broncos have a habit of doing that in the second half, but the Sharks, if they want to be a premiership contender, they've got to be able to stop that, and they just didn't. They folded over. So, I'm really worried about the Sharkies, but I thought it was a really good win for the Broncos, who also, sort of not cement themselves. There's no cementing yourself in any position this season because of how close the comp is. But now they are firmly in the 8. They've had a lot of down periods, but games like this, or especially second halves like this, prove that they can match it with the top sides. So I'm excited to see sort of what happens from here. I thought Reece Walsh sort of playing on one leg was really, really good in this one. So he ended the game 20 runs, 181 metres, 1 line break, 3 line break assists, 2 try assists. As I said, essentially on one leg. Josiah Karapani, he's been a revelation on the wing. 15 runs, 122 metres, 2 line breaks, 2 tries. The best player, in my opinion, in this game, who I, again, also left out of my team of the week, Katoni Staggs, 13 runs, 204 metres. This is that annual Tony Staggs blinder that we know he has every single year. He comes up with one of these games and you go, holy fuck, he is Greg Inglis. He's the best player in the competition. And then he sort of goes back into his shell and whatnot, but if he can have these performances every now and then, if he can make them a little bit more frequent, it's just insane. So 13 runs, 204 meters from 13 runs. He had 4 line breaks and 10 tackle breaks. They genuinely couldn't touch him. And when they did, he just shrugged them off. He was unbelievable, Kadoni Staggs, unbelievable. He sent a partner, Shibasaki, 11 runs, 102 meters, and scored 2 tries as well. It's just, fantastic game from the Broncos. Payne Haas, oh my God. He was in there getting strapped up. He's been carrying that injury. He played this, got through Origin again, just being immense. Comes through, gets strapped up at one point of this game because he's playing injured. And then still plays 58 minutes, 21 runs, 199 meters, 9 tackle breaks, and 40 tackles. Genuinely outrageous. Genuinely outrageous from Payne Haas. So obviously made our team of the week. He's just superhuman, to be honest. Again, there's a lot of other players we can mention, but we'll sort of leave it there for the Broncos. For the Sharkies, it's really weird. Like, I thought it was the best that the Sharkies halves pairing had looked all year. They were swinging both sides of the ruck. They were linking up with each other. They both had really phenomenal passes to put their respective back rowers through holes that led to both of Kennedy's tries, actually. And Trindle even had that other beautiful ball to Nicho Hynes himself, who snuck around from behind the ruck and crossed over to score off a great set piece there. So the halves combined the best they ever had. Blake Brayley's running game was the best it had been, all season, and it's really unlocked their attack in recent weeks. I thought he was incredible in this game. Blake Brayley scoring a try as well, 7 runs, 55 meters, and 51 tackles. I don't really have a place to put my finger on it and say what went wrong, because that first half, they were incredible. I think the Broncos, they picked apart, big Sifa Talakai a bit in defense. 4 tackles, 2 ineffective from Talakai, and there were a few more that he just didn't have the pace to even get to, which, fair enough. Like, he's been playing as essentially a front rower all season. You can't fully expect him to go back to centre, even though he was destructive there in the past and do what he did back then. In saying that, he still ran 18 times for 176 metres and scored a try and had 6 tackle breaks. But yeah, defensively, the Broncos really went at him and they isolated him a little bit because of he's a bit of a bigger body. But there's got to be a game plan adjustment there from the Sharks. You need to identify that, move him or put someone else out there, or just you need to change that. They really didn't. They just rested on what they were doing in that first half. And when the Broncos came out with a whole different game plan, they couldn't adapt to that. And that's the worry I have with the Sharkies. So it's a really interesting one because, as I said, that first half, they looked incredible. There's a lot of positives in this game from the Sharks, but in the end, it's another loss. And it's a loss where they just let the lead go. I thought Sione Katoa, in fairness, also had a terrible, just a dumb sin bin right on the stroke of halftime, which didn't help as well. But I'm seeing a lot of people calling for Nicho Hynes' head again, which, what's new? That's been happening all season. I thought in that first half, as I said, the halves had their best game of the season. Nicho Hynes, 9 runs, 82 meters, 1 line break, 2 line break assists, 1 try. Essentially had the try assist to Kennedy as well, because he was the one who put Nikita through the hole. Then Nikita backed up to William, gave it to William Kennedy, who was backing up. And as I said, Trindle put Teague Wilton on the left-hand side through a gap, and Wilton passed it to Kennedy, who backed up as all good fullbacks should. But I just don't know. I thought he was really, really good in that first half. Hynes, I thought Trindle was as well. But that second half was just really bad. So I don't know what to say about the Sharkies. As I said, a lot of positives. Unfortunately, a lot of negatives as well. For the Broncos, we'll give them a little bit more breath before we move on. Really good win from them. As I said, that this season pretty well in the 8 now. Like they're looking very solid in there. If they can keep performances like this up, they will stay there. And that's not to say that was all perfect. Obviously, their first half, they were sort of blown off the park by the Sharkies. But again, it's another thing where you can just look at them and say, the Broncos that we've known for a few years, they either beat you by 50 or lose by 50. And it looked like they were in the spot to lose by 50. So for them to be able to go into halftime, recoup and be like, righto, let's switch it up, let's change a few things, and we go out and we win this game. That's a really big positive that I haven't seen from the Broncos, in recent years. So we know their attack's fantastic. 34 points on the Sharkies is great. If they can just tidy all this up, there's a bloody good footy side in there. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of positives to take away from the Broncos here. They had every right to fold. The Broncos that we've known would fold under that margin of how far they were down, but they didn't. They gathered the troops and they went at it. And the big thing was, I just love that the team got behind players like Pat Carrigan and players like Payne Haas. These players never deserve to be losing games. But for me, as I said, Payne Haas, incredible. For me, the star of the show was Katoni Staggs. He was unbelievable. Alas, we'll move on to the second last game of the round, the Roosters and the Cowboys. We'll be a bit quicker on this one, simply because there's not a whole lot to talk about. The Roosters, they win 42-8. It's actually ridiculous when you look back at round 2, when they came into round 2 against the Panthers and they're paying like, $11, $13 or something to win. And it's like, hold up, this is the Sydney Roosters. They haven't missed the finals for God, I can't even remember. 2016 they did, when they had that just, I don't think they've missed it since 2016. Is that right? I think that might be right. I'm not sure. But why did we think after some really poor trial performances and after one poor performance against the Broncos in round 1 that this is just a terrible football side? We know from experience, all the evidence is there, that the Roosters are the Roosters. They are a good footy side. They got blown out. They had a lot of injuries. Their team didn't look up to standard in the first parts. But when you still look at this side, there's some quality in these Origin players. And then players like Mark Nawonga-Nitawase, who comes in the side and you're like, Robert Toya, the young debutant, he's now an Origin player. Billy Smith, who's scoring 2 tries out there. Nafahu White running for 205 meters. What were we doing worrying about the Warriors, about the Roosters? It's crazy to sort of just look back on that because, as I said, all the evidence was there that this team was never going to be a terrible team. And here we are over midway through the season now, and they're putting scorelines on other top 8 hopefuls. 42 points to 8 over the Cowboys, and they're still missing a lot of players, the Roosters. I thought it was just a brilliant performance from the side. The early parts of this season, they were sort of being carried by James Tedesco, and don't get me wrong, he was still immense in this one, and he has been all season. 27 runs, 213 metres, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 9 tackle breaks, and a try. But it's not all off the back of Teddy anymore. Everyone is getting amongst it. I love the halves combo of Sandon Smith and Hugo Savala. They're playing so well. Sandon didn't finish this one with a bit of an injury, though I believe that has been cleared. But to think that they've still got a Sam Walker to come back into this side, it's just they've still got the Butcher boys. Nat Butcher, I think, has been, I won't say sorely missed because they're getting these scorelines done, but he's a big in for them. I don't know. I just find it so crazy when we look back at round 2. Why were they ever that far underdogs to the Panthers? I know it was the Panthers, and we didn't know the Panthers were going to be a bit of a basket case this season. But we shouldn't have thought the Roosters were going to be either. They've proved time and time again that they're one of the better sides, better organisations in the comp. And I thought they were just unbelievable in this one. Over to the Cowboys before we'll look at standout players in a second. But the Cowboys, I don't know. It's what is there to say? We've sort of said it all already that they had a bit of a winning recipe there. Maybe it wasn't going to see them win a premiership, but they were winning games of footy. They were scoring points when they had Jake Clifford in the side. And then I think they lost one game and then they drew the game to the Panthers and then they dropped him. And Jackson Purdue, don't get me wrong, you guys know if you listen to these podcasts, I'm a huge Jackson Purdue fan. I think his future is probably in the halves or at fullback. But you had a winning recipe there with Clifford and Dearden in the halves. And then you stray away from that to get Jackson in there and, maybe it's just to fast track him and get him all that experience and whatnot. But like, if you still think you're a finals team this year, why are you changing the winning recipe? Let Jackson bide his time in the centres where he was. It's not like he was doing shit in the centres. He was going phenomenal in the centres. Let him be a strike centre. Let him be great out there. And eventually over time you can transition him. But to make that switch after a draw, not even a loss, and go bang, we're switching it up. And it just hasn't worked since. And that's no knock on Jackson Purdue, as I said, gun player, and he is a half, like he will be in his future, in my opinion. But it was just a really silly coaching decision from like all facets of the game, in my opinion. And then we're just seeing it now. Like, I'm not saying that's all because Purdue's in the halves, but like their attack looks disjointed, and like the Cowboys, that's the one thing that they're known for. It's just, yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of things wrong with the Cowboys in this one. Obviously, the Roosters were incredible. They were amazing in every facet of the game. But the Cowboys have got to be playing better than this, and yeah, they simply didn't. In terms of standouts for them, Murray Talangi, I thought, was really good. He's scored one of their only tries, 25 runs, 277 metres, 2 line breaks. I thought he was really good out there. Sort of not much else. Like, I liked Griffin Neem's impact off the bench, but we've been saying that all season. Griffin Neem and Cohen Hess off the bench were really, really good. I don't understand a lot of things. I don't understand their rotations. I don't understand the fact that they're starting Kai O'Donnell for 25 minutes and then you take him off. And I know it was for Jeremiah Nanai, who was coming back from Origin and whatnot. But like, to not even put Kai O'Donnell back on there, it's like, why'd you even start him? Like, literally just put Sam McIntyre to start and then put somebody else into lock forward or something. I don't understand the choice of Harrison Edwards on the bench, respectfully to Harrison Edwards, but he doesn't have the punch that you need. So he played 55 minutes and he ran for 82 metres, which is just really low. Griffin Neem, 47 minutes, and Cohen Hess, 47 minutes, so 8 minutes less than Harrison Edwards, and they had 114 metres for Neem and 117 for Cohen Hess. So you're looking at almost 30 metres each more in less time. While there's a player like Tom McHaley, who was originally named on the bench, and he brings a lot of punch. I really like Tom McHaley, and he doesn't even end up in the side because then you run Tom Duffy off the bench. It's just, there's so many things that just make you scratch your head about not just this performance by the Cowboys, but recently, and the decisions behind everything. I don't really know what's going on. I think it's, Jordan McLean, he's still having a couple of good performances here and there, but I think the game's sort of past him. I do expect him to hang up the boots at the end of this year, and he's had a phenomenal career, Jordan McLean. This is no knock against him, but like, they're really short of a middle right now. Like Jason Tamalolo, he was great before he got injured, but even him, I think they need one more front rower in there. If you can have Tamalolo and another really good front rower with a bit of oomph at prop, and then you can have Ruben Cotter at lock forward, I think you've got a really good little starting side there. Then you can bring players like Griffin Neem, Cohen Hess, and Sam McIntyre off the bench, and Thomas McHaley. Like, there's enough of a roster here, and it's just, I think the decisions are just really, really head scratching. And I don't know. It's just a really disappointing performance from the Cowboys again. In terms of stand-up players, did I go through any for the Cowboys? Yeah, Murray Talangi, Neem, Braden Burns, I thought was good, scoring one of their only tries and running 129 metres. But yeah, it's a lot of head scratches. Unfortunately, I thought Tom Dearden was really, really poor in this one, but he is backing up from Origin, so I'll give him, and he's been their best player all season, so I'll give him a bit of leeway there. And for the Roosters, we've talked about how great they were and why they never should have been doubted. We didn't go through their standouts. We mentioned James Tedesco. He was enormous. Billy Smith scoring 2 tries in this one, and defensively, I thought he was just incredible as well. He has been essentially all season. Rob Toy was good. Mark Nawonga-Nitawase, Jesus Christ. He's just, again, another player that we've said, like, when you think you've run out of things to say about Mark Nawonga-Nitawase, he comes out with another just outrageous skill or another outrageous play that has you talking about him again. He can do stuff that simply no other player in the competition can do. 25 runs, 245 metres, 1 line break, 2 tries. And again, the tries and meters and steps and chip and chases and kick, just everything. It's just absurd. It is insane what Mark Nwonga-Nituase can do. And yeah, when you think you've just run out of, oh, well, Mark Nwonga-Nituase, he was freakish. He came out with this freakish play. And you're like, well, I've mentioned him. Next week, I won't have to talk about it because there's no other freakish things he can do. He finds a way to find another freakish thing to do, and you're back talking about him. Just a freak of a player. There's a lot of times I can say freak, apparently. Yeah, just immense. Lindsay Collins, the front row pairing in general were just great. Lindsay Collins backing up from Origin, 12-1 runs, 101 metres and a try. Meanwhile, Nafahu White in his 53 minutes had 20 runs for 205 metres and 6 tackle breaks, 26 tackles as well. Absurd. Connor Watson, with one of my favourite players in the comp. We've mentioned him so many times, and essentially everything that we've said about him before could be said again. He was just enormous. Scored another try in this one, 17 runs, 162 metres and 40 tackles for 1 missed. Mental player. Yeah, there's probably not too much more than we can talk about. Celeste Feketi apparently played the full 80 at lock forward. I did not even notice that. That's incredible work from the young fella. That's the other thing about the Roosters as well. Like, obviously, I've gone on about, like, there's no reason we should have doubted them. But the other thing that, you know, keeps getting said about the Roosters is they buy their premierships. This team, like, okay, Spencer Leniu, he was signed to the club. Angus Crichton was signed to the club, but I'm pretty sure he was a Roosters junior coming through anyway. But let's say he's signed to the club. So there's Leniu. I'm not even going to count Docker Clay. So Leniu, Crichton, Connor Watson's a Roosters junior. I don't care that they brought him back from the Knights. He started at the club. Nwonga-Nituase, I'm going to say, is a Roosters junior because he's debuted at the club. That's it. Like, everyone else, Tedesco as well. You can say that they bought Tedesco. But Tupou, Billy Smith, Robert Toya, Mark Nwonga-Nituase, Sandon Smith, Hugo Savala, Lindsay Collins, Connor Watson, Nafahu White, Siwa Wong, Celeste Feketi, Benaya Iwelu, I won't say Zach Docker Clay, Blake Steep, and Ethan King, the 18, are Roosters juniors. Like, these are players that are either came through the grades or the Roosters signed them and are debuting them. And that's not even their full strength side. They're still missing Sam Walker, essentially a Roosters junior. I know I think he's a Brisbane Broncos junior, but debuted at the club. Like, it's not a team that's just buying premierships. They are bringing through players, and they're missing Victor Radley, who's a Roosters junior, the Butcher Boys. Like, it's almost all homegrown now too. So they're from grassroots up. They're doing extraordinary things. Like, as I said, Blake Steep, Celeste Feketi, Siwa Wong, Iwelu. Like, these are some young players. Nafahu White just signed a huge extension. They're all so young, and they've brought them through the grades, and they're bringing them up, and they're ready for it. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to like about the Roosters. I was very much guilty of, you know, saying that they had no chance this season, and after round one and after their trial games, they were in for maybe I think I might have even said they could come last. But as I said, looking back, I was a fool, and we were all fools for even thinking about that, because the evidence has always been there that this team was never going to do that. So, yeah, phenomenal win from the Roosters. I said I was going to go short on that one. I think I might have spent more time on that game than any other. Let's go into the final game. The Parramatta Eels winning 36-20 over the Gold Coast Titans. Yeah, I mean, what can you really sort of say about these sides at the moment? They're both sort of fighting down the bottom end of the ladder, and they're both showing, like, this game sort of showed exactly what we know of both these sides. I think it's a really good win from the Eels, you know, considering they are without Mitch Moses and Dylan Brown, which, you know, history tells us if they're without just Mitch Moses, for instance, they really, really struggle. But to be without both and to get a really good win here, it's really good signs. In seasons past, and even, you know, earlier this season, it's been a bit like, who have they used to replace him? I was very much in the Ronald Volkman camp. I thought he's got a lot of ability, Volkman, and in the preseason I thought he was great. But then Dean Hawkins recently, and we know about Dean Hawkins, obviously he's a New South Wales Cup Player of the Year, came through a bit with the Rabbitohs and whatnot. But when he's been given the chance to fill in this year, he has not just filled in admirably. He has been exceptional, Dean Hawkins. He's amazing. I don't know if you can obviously mold him into a 5'8". I don't think that's their plans, but the fact that now you can rely on someone like Dean Hawkins to not just, as I said, not just fill in admirably when you lose Moses through injury or you lose him through Origin, but he can come into the team and win you games of football. Like, he's playing at that high of a level, Dean Hawkins. And I think those are the things you can take away from this game. Like, the Titans, they're not at full strength and they have, excuses out the wazoo and whatnot, but they're also just not playing good footy this season, and that's just a fact, unfortunately. But they came in with a better side than the Eels on paper, in my opinion, and they still weren't able to get a win. So I thought it was a really good win from the Parramatta Eels. Obviously, their defense needs work. Their attack, it was good, but, again, it's against a leaky Titans defense. I don't know what more you can take away from it from the Eels than what I just said, that Dean Hawkins can be your man at halfback. And the fact that Joash Papali'i showed that he has that potential at 5'8" as well. And that might be the way to get in Papali'i into their side, because Iongi has been killing it and was killing it again in this game. So, yeah, there's a lot of good signs to take out of this one from the Parramatta Eels. What does it mean for their season as a whole? I'm not entirely sure. They're definitely not making the top 8, but we're just getting more reps into these young fellas and we're seeing more ability out of them. And even their depth players are standing up, and that's just what I'm really liking about them. For the Titans, yeah, look, what can you say that hasn't already been said? Whenever they get a win, I'm obviously really high on them, and I like talking about them, but it's just another disappointing loss for their side. Realistically, I just don't really know what to talk about. AJ Brimson, he still looks his best at fullback. Like, it's another headache that can't stop being talked about. He had errors in this one. He had an error that led directly to a Eels try, to Charlie Geimer. Big shout-outs to Geimer. But just his touches, the way he moves about the field, his positioning, AJ Brimson, he's a fullback through and through. Keanu Keeney's due back in like a month, I think. And I'm a huge Keeney guy. Can't wait to see him back, but I'm interested to see what the Titans do there. It didn't help in this game, that Jaden Campbell went down after 27 minutes with a head knock and was ruled out. I still think that sort of threw out their, we mentioned it sort of with the Warriors, but when you lose a key player like that, it throws out structures. It throws out, your rotations off the bench and whatnot. So there's excuses, but if it was a one-off performance, you could find excuses. But this has been the Titans all year, unfortunately, so you can't really just chalk it up to anything like that. It's just a disappointing year for them. In terms of, as I said, like standout players, we mentioned Brimo. Alofiana Khan-Pereira I thought was incredible as well. If there's anyone that might even break, when Johnston breaks this record, if there's someone who might break it again, it could be Lofiana Khan-Pereira. The fact he's been putting up these sort of try-scoring numbers in a Titans side that has been very poor for the last couple of years is mental, because when the Titans become a good side, and hopefully he's there for a long time, Alofiana Khan-Pereira, he could be putting up double these amount of numbers. He's that good of a player. He's just got that speed. He's a very similar player to young Alex Johnston, just speed, good positioning play. Defense wasn't there at the beginning of AJ's career. I think it's come a long way since. But yeah, I think he's got a very similar career trajectory, Alofiana Khan-Pereira. 17 runs, 230 metres, 2 tries. Taking that intercept and zooming across the field. Speaking of that intercept, while we're here, we're going to transition over very quickly to our standout for the Eels, Sean Russell. Now, Sean Russell is essentially like, he's been almost a staple in the Eels side for the last couple of years, but I think it's sort of been because injuries happen every now and then, right when he's about to get dropped, or, someone is about to take his place, I should say, that keeps him in the side. But he's a good player, Sean Russell. I think he cops a lot of shit. I'm a big fan of him, but what I liked about that Lofiana Khan-Pereira, 100-metre intercept try is Sean Russell absolutely blitzed it, absolutely got on his horse, got on his bike and bolted from the other side of the field. And he didn't catch Lofty, but he made that conversion have to be taken from the sideline. Like, he didn't really need to do that, but he went about it. He ran down Xavier Savage a couple of years ago in a trial. He's got some pace, Sean Russell, but to just book it across there and make the Titans have to take that conversion from the sideline, which they missed. And, in the context of the game, didn't matter. The Eels won by 16. But those are those effort plays that you need in your side, because maybe that misconversion can save you a game in the future. And if all it is you getting on your bike and running back there so you can cut off that angle, if that's all it takes to win a game, then you need those sort of players. So I want to give a massive shout out to Sean Russell. 11 runs, 113 metres, and scored a try as well. So he had a really good game, but yeah, thought he was just wanted to highlight the effort. Back over to the Titans standout players. Phil Sammy, he did his work. 18 runs, 189 metres. Bo Fermor, I thought he was really good again. Also took over the goal kicking big firms. So that's an interesting one. I wonder if he's going to keep that for another week with Campbell out. But thought he was good. And Chris Randall, I think he's been one of their best all season. Essentially, one of their best since he came to the club. I've never seen, we haven't seen too many trade deals. I'd love to see more of them. But that trade deal that the Knights and Titans struck a few years ago of Chris Randall to the to the Titans and Greg Marju to the Knights, one of the most even trade deals out there. Obviously, Marju gets a lot of plaudits for, being a winger, and he gets more highlight plays. But what Chris Randall has brought to this Titans side is exactly what they need. And every week he's a bloody 7 out of 10 minimum. I thought he was really good. 9 runs, 94 metres, a try, and 39 tackles as well. Tino, he got through his work off the bench. I thought Mo Fodawaker was very solid off the bench as well. But yeah, look, there's not too much more to say about the Titans, unfortunately. That hasn't already been said. For the Eels, their stand-up players, we mentioned Russell. Isaiah Iongi, again, just everywhere. 21 runs, 178 metres, 1 line break assist, 3 try assists, 4 tackle breaks. He could have had another try assist too, because he made that break and Dean Hawkins was supporting. And then Hawkins decided to cut to the other side of him. And Iongi's looked to go, drawing past from the fullback, give it to Hawkins. And Hawkins is all of a sudden nowhere to be seen because he's cut in behind him. So we could have had another one there, Iongi. I also liked that when that Alofiana Khan-Pereira, I think it was Iongi, he threw the ball to Khan-Pereira for that try. But he also, he got on his bike and started chasing from behind as well, which I respected, showed a bit of pace. Zach Lomax, he's an effort player, which is so crazy because, a few years ago at the Dragons, he was the complete opposite. But to see what he is now, he is undoubtedly one of the best outside backs, period, in the competition. He competes for absolutely everything. And, a lot of the time it doesn't go his way, but then it does. He will have one time, because that's the thing. If it doesn't go your way, what's happening? Say you put a bomb up and you contest and you drop it. It's 5th tackle anyway, probably. That's why you're putting the bomb up. So it's just a handover. But if you contest and you drop it 4 times in a row, it's a handover. It doesn't matter. It was going to be the end of the set. But then that 5th time you catch it and you score, or you catch it, and in this case, you throw the offload over the top, and then your team scores off the back of that through, I think it was Will Penasini. That's a game changer. So it's those effort areas from Zach Lomax that are just incredible. And as I said, it's just something that he didn't have at the Dragons until that last season. I'm so glad that he's really just made it a mainstay of his game, because he's always had the talent. Zach Lomax is an incredibly talented player, but with this work rate, he's one of the best outside backs in the competition. He was really good in this one. 25 runs, 211 metres, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, and 6 from 6 from the boot. Will Penasini, he made our team of the week. I probably should have given it to Tony Staggs, but I thought Penasini was really, really good until that sin bin at the end. But before that, 13 runs, 178 metres, 1 line break, and 2 tries and 5 tackle breaks was really solid. Josh Adokar, the other winger, well, keep in mind the way we look at it sort of with these wingers is Lomax is your high meter eater and then Adokar's your finisher. No, Adokar, 20 runs, 220 metres in this game. He was doing everything for his side, and we know that when you get through that work, the chockies come more often than not. Didn't score a try in this one, but he'll probably score next week. Josh Papali'i at 5'8", didn't do anything, absolutely outrageous, but I thought he just handled himself in that arena really well. Made 30 tackles and only missed 1. The young fella, normally a fullback filling in the line. He's an absolute gun. We've covered him before, coming through the grades when he was at the Bulldogs as a fullback. He is a star. So it's going to be interesting if they end up molding him to a 5'8" next year. I think he can do wondrous things there. Jack Williams did his usual business. Junior Polo, I thought was amazing. I love Junior Polo, to be honest. 15 runs, 135 metres, 2 line break assists from the big fella, 29 tackles, 0 missed. Kelmatalangi and Kitiona Katonga was great. I thought he was really, really good. 16 runs, 192 metres. Kelmatalangi had his moments. He was rocks and diamonds again. He had a couple of line break assists, but yeah, had some errors and just defensively. But like, there's such a good player in there when he can stay on the field and when he can just pull his head in. There's a lot of ability there. And yeah, Joey Lussick as well started this game at hooker and scored a good little try as well. So just a really good win from the Eels. Not a huge amount to take away from it, unfortunately. Not just for them, but from both of these teams. But there's good signs for the future for the Eels. That one will have to do us. It's gone a lot longer, this podcast, than I thought, but it's a lot shorter than I usually do. If you made it this far, thank you guys for tuning in. It really does mean a lot, like those of you who do listen to these ones. Sometimes it can get pretty disheartening knowing that I'm doing these and I'm doing my posts and I'm putting a lot of effort into these and not getting much back. Like, I don't make money from these. It takes a lot of my time that can be used to get stuff done around the house, just to spend with my partner, to spend with family and friends. But I want to put in this effort because I love doing this and I love that you guys tune into these. So it means the world that you guys actually, if you're hearing this now, if you've stayed for an hour and 15 into this podcast, it means the world. So really a massive, massive thank you to those of you who do support me and listen to these podcasts. And of course, interact with the Instagram as well. Massive shout out to you guys. So it's good to be back. I wish I was in better health and we could have, talked a little bit more, but just really happy to be back doing this sort of content. And hopefully we can keep it pretty steady for the rest of the year and into finals. So we'll leave it there. Thank you guys for tuning into this one, and I'll see you guys next time.